Hello, my name is Jinsun Yang. I'm honored to share my paper titled Creating a Non-Gender Binary Sports Space, the Non-Binary Policy of Korean Queer Women Games, received honorable mention in the 2023 ISSA Graduate Paper Award. In this paper, I explore alternative gender policies beyond the traditional two-tiered sex system of women's and men's leagues. Sports remain one of the last arena where sex segregation is still taken for granted. Many sports scholars question both the necessity and impact of the two-tiered system. It is widely recognized that women's sports are disproportionately underfunded and undervalued across nearly all sports, and the sex-segregated system plays a key role in sustaining and reinforcing explicit gender inequality and discrimination. In response, scholars have examined alternative gender policies with co-ed and mixed sports often presented as viable alternatives. However, research shows that sex integration doesn't necessarily challenge heterosexism or the androcentric sports culture, nor does it always create a more inclusive environment for sexual minorities. This raises a critical question. So how can you reform sports to challenge binary sex essentialism while centering people who are historically marginalized in mainstream sports culture, including LGBTQ+ folks? In this context, I introduced Korean Queer Women Games, an annual sports event in South Korea, as a critical site for creating and implementing non-gender binary policies. I analyzed two key strategies used to create a non-binary sports space while centering queer women, including queers and women, in sports. First, all games are organized as non-gender binary in Korean Queer Women Games. This goes beyond the simply hosting mixed gender events. It challenges the very notion of gender policing in sports. The event organizers removed gender categories from the entry forms, meaning participants do not disclose their sex or gender identity. Players compete with and against others without knowing their sex or gender, although participants may still make assumptions based upon appearance and behavior. This makes the participants' collective agreement central to upholding the non-gender binary policy. The second strategy is a collective commitment to reject gender policing in sports. Through an oath known as our promises, all participants get to understand why questioning or probing other players' sex identity is prohibited at the Korean Queer Women Games. One common concern might be, what if male-presenting players outperform female-presenting ones? The participants of the Korean Queer Women Games have identified multiple factors beyond sex difference that impact fairness and athletic ability, including skill, experience, passion, teamwork, resources, and a sense of belonging. Interviewees reported that Our Promise helped them enjoy the games free from self-censorship, transphobia, and sexual harassment. Finally, I compared the non-gender binary policy of the Korean Queer Women Games with the transgender inclusion policies largely developed and practiced in the global north. For further details, please refer to my paper. This paper is a chapter of my dissertation, Decolonizing Sex Segregation in Sports, Global Gender Policing, and Queer Women Sports Activism in South Korea. Discussions around sex segregation and sex testing have largely centered on the US and the Western Europe, often overlooking the geopolitical context of these issues. Through a transnational and historical lens, my dissertation investigates how to decolonize sex segregation in sports by focusing on the LGBTQ sports culture in South Korea. Drawing on ethnographic methods, I examined the introduction, reproduction, and contestation of two-sex system and sex testing in sports in South Korea at 3 different levels: elite, community, and global versus local sports levels. Finally, this dissertation contributes to the existing literature on sociology of sports and gender studies by examining how modern sports value of fairness, integrity, excellence, teamwork, and democracy have shaped by racialized and gendered bodies across transnational, cross-border, and imperial histories. Thank you for listening.